Hi guys, this is Hamid, and today is day 6 of learning web dev. It's part number 2. Let's get started.
With our media query, I'll say at media, and then we'll use screen, and I'll say min width, and here we'll say 576 pixels. So the styles we have put in are valid up to 576 pixels, and they will still be valid if we do not overwrite them here. So now let's go ahead and style the body here. And the first thing we'll do is set a background dash color. Let's just set it to green, something we'll definitely know. Let's say small, that's where we'll start out with our media query. I'll say at media, and then we'll use screen, and I'll say min width, and here we'll say 576 pixels. So the styles we have put in are valid up to 576 pixels, and they will still be valid if we do not overwrite them here. So now let's go ahead and style the body here. And the first thing we'll do is set a background dash color. Let's just set it to green, something we'll definitely notice a change on. And then we can go ahead and use that same background image style that we're using with a radial gradient, and inside there we'll start out with white smoke once again, and then we'll just switch to green. Okay, besides the body, let's do one other thing. Let's take the nav and let's just set the display with a radial gradient, and inside there we'll start out with white smoke once again, and then we'll just switch to green. Okay, besides the body, let's do one other thing. Let's take the nav and let's just set the display to none so it will disappear. And now look what happened. We're already past that 576 width, so we see those changes instantly. We no longer have a nav on the page, and now our background for the body is main. Now we still have our background color on the header and footer that we set because we did not overwrite those with a new style here. So that is what has changed based on that width. Now how can we go back and forth? This is interesting and something you should learn how to do, so I'll drag this over till it's full screen. You want to go to DevTools, and there's certain ways to do that. One is to right-click and choose Inspect at the bottom of the pop-up menu. Another is to press Control, Shift, and the letter I, which is what I tend to do. And now DevTools opened here on the right. It's fairly small, and I have got the console here for JavaScript right now, but yours may open to elements, and you can see and highlight these elements here. And that's really what we want as we style things, and you can see layout. But now let's look at some details about this layout and how we can adjust that. Notice the little mobile devices icon up here. Let's go ahead and click that. It says Toggle Device Toolbar. That gives us more tools. Now we can choose dimensions, and we see the dimensions here. We see the percentage that's showing, so I'm going to set this to 100%, and now I can see that. These are the dimensions for an iPhone 6, 7, and 8. We can change this to a responsive screen or choose different devices. So I'm using the responsive screen now, and I can drag it to make it narrower or wider, and you saw that change, and there we went past our 576. We're now at 602 pixels wide, and we can see the change. Likewise, we can look at devices like I was talking about before. So I'll choose iPhone 5/SE, one of the smaller devices. Now, not every device has this available, but some do. You can go to the 3 dots here in our new responsive menu bar that popped up, and here we can say Show Device Frame. And now I have a frame that looks like a phone around my page. And now we can once again change that. I want to make it so I can see the whole phone. So there we go. And now we see how it looks on the phone. You can even change to the horizontal display, as you would turn your phone, or back to the normal display here. And we can do that for several different phones. I'll choose the iPhone 6, 7, and 8, for example. Or we can just go back to responsive and drag the page around, which is what we'll do now, because now up until 576, and we can even type in here, I can say 576, we're going to switch over. So if I said 575, yep, we're back to the original background color. So we can check our breakpoints right there. Also, there are breakpoints here that are suggested by Chrome, and you can click on these to change your width as well and see how it displays. And these are a little bit different than what we reviewed in our notes markdown file as well, so you might check those out. Okay, let's drag this back over to the right, and then let's take Visual Studio Code and fill up the page. Let's put in some more breakpoints, and then we'll come back and check all of those out. What I'm going to do now is highlight all of this code, then press Shift, Alt, and the down arrow to copy it down.
So we have nav bar, which we display none. Yep.
And now let's make our next breakpoint, and we'll label this one medium. And we're not going to change the nav anymore. It is gone for now, so we'll just leave it gone. So all we really want to do is change the color here for our next breakpoint, and of course the breakpoint value itself. So here I'll switch this to gold. I could have changed those both at the same time. I'll try to remember to do that next time. So min width, instead of 576, this is our medium. Let's set it to 768. We want the pixels behind that to indicate that. After that, let's copy this down again. So Shift, Alt, and the down arrow. And now this would be our large breakpoint. We'll relabel that. I'll highlight gold and press Control D to select the other gold. I'm going to change this to Fire Brick. And so that will give us a nice color change as well. We'll set this to 992 pixels, much like the Bootstrap framework does. Now let's select our large, Shift, Alt, and the down arrow. I'll give another line break there, and then this will be our XL setting. And for that, let's go ahead and switch to another color that will be noticeable, Rebecca Purple. I didn't select that Fire Brick. I'll do Control Z to go back to Fire Brick, highlight the first one, Control D to select the second one, and now Rebecca Purple is what we want. Save that, and let's do one more, but this will be different. So I'm going to copy this down, but we'll make some changes just to give an example of how you could do something differently and look for a different type of breakpoint as well. So this is still at media screen, but let's go ahead and label this here we go. I could type, there we go, mobile. And I want that all caps. Mobile device landscape. So now let's combine some things here. Instead of min width, let's say lowercase max height. And we'll set the max height to 425 pixels. And after that, let's do another and now let's say min aspect ratio. You might have thought I would have said orientation, but I want to actually be a little more specific here and say the min aspect ratio of 7:4. So it's noticeably taller than it is wide. And let's change our Rebecca purple to Dodger blue and save that as well. Now inside of this, we'll also do a couple of other changes. So let's say H1 and H2 that we have for labels. We'll make the font size just a little smaller to 1.5 rem. And then let's also set that nav to display none. And we need to do that again because we didn't hit our other min width when we hit our max height here. So that's a little different, but we'd just be looking at a different size. So we need to go ahead and switch that to display none, or I believe it would show once again. So now that we've made those changes, let's drag Visual Studio Code over and see if they all take place in our page. So we'll drag Chrome back over. We'll start down here at the smallest, and there we have our original color. We get a little wider, we've got green. A little wider yet, we have gold. A little wider yet, we have Rebecca purple. It seems like maybe we skipped over the fire brick. So let's see what happened there. We'll bring this back over and look at our fire brick, and maybe all it takes is one typo to get something wrong. Maybe I did something wrong. And I sure did. I did not change the min width for the Rebecca purple for the XL. So we had 992 here and 992 here again. So this essentially was overriding this. So we wanted to change this 992 here and set it to 1200 pixels. And now we should see all of the changes we expected. And here's purple. There is our fire brick color. Gold, green, and back to normal there. So we might see those changes in different devices as well. So let's go ahead and check that. We'll see our iPhone, and we can choose maybe a larger setting here. That's too large. Let's go with 75%. There's the iPhone. Let's go with the iPad. And yes, it's gold. Let's go with the iPad Pro. Yes, that's the fire brick size, and you can see a device frame is not available for it. And then we could even switch up to say, well, let's go back to a small phone first. There is that iPhone 5 SE. Now let's go ahead and change the orientation. And now we get our Dodger blue color as we switched, because the aspect ratio and the max height were both met. It met both of those conditions. And now you can see how those media queries apply, and we can change the page based on what the device is, the viewing orientation. And of course, you're not going to have someone that typically changes their screen size as they're working with your application. So you don't really need to worry about these smooth transitions in between changes, and that's because nobody will be changing their device or really their screen size as they use the application. So you just need to make sure it appears as you want it to at each separate breakpoint. Today we'll use CSS to apply responsive web design as we create profile cards for the staff of a small company. It's time for another CSS mini project, and we'll be applying many of the concepts we've learned from previous lessons in this CSS for Beginners tutorial series. Let's look at our finished project first. This is our end goal. I've already got DevTools open. I'm already showing the toolbar at the top, and you can click the little mobile icon at the top of Chrome DevTools to toggle that device toolbar. And if you click the three dots, you can also show or hide the device frame if it's available. And it is available for the iPhone 5/SE, which is currently probably the smallest mobile device we would design for as of the making of this tutorial at least. And it's got 320 pixels width, 568 high, and you can see the project right here, and we can scroll through the cards for each employee. Now if we choose this drop menu and choose responsive, there you can see the page definitely changes. We can see all employees at once, and we see the new width and height at the top. Now we can type in here too, and I'm going to actually highlight the width and change it to 1920 by 1080, and we can see what our page would look like on a full 16 by 9 or 1920 by 1080 widescreen. So this is our end goal. I can grab the side now and squeeze the page back, and we can see how it adapts to each width all the way back to our 320 pixels. Of course, we've got more height than
Skareta. Yamioka. Let's end the life. WC School. Responsive web design. Hi, what's up? Responsive web design. Introduction to responsive web design. Responsive web design is about creating web pages that look good on all devices. I know that. Desktop, tablet, phone. konnichiwa. CSS Media Queries. Hi, bye bye.